Okay, so we won't say an awful lot, but at Storythings we're really interested in how the way we are using devices like this are changing the way that we experience stories. And I've been involved in digital art and digital storytelling projects for about 15 years, and really it's the last 5 years that have been really fascinating, because before then most people weren't online an awful lot, but in the last 5 or 6 years most audiences have started to get really interesting patterns of attention and behaviour that mean that when you're telling stories now, you're telling them for a new audience. And so a lot of the work we do at Storythings is really kind of experiments in what kinds of behaviours and patterns of attention audiences have, and how you can tell stories in a new way by understanding that. So what does a story feel like if it's 10 emails sent over 10 days, or what does a story feel like that you tell through touch rather than through time or other senses. So at Storythings we work with lots and lots of different people to try and understand how storytelling is changing, and Helix is a good example of the kind of work we do. It's a story which feels sometimes like reading and sometimes like watching animation, and sometimes like a really, really interesting mix of the two. And it's often in those hybrid forms that the most interesting work happens. We run a conference every year called The Story at Conway Hall in London, and that is all about the many, many different ways in which people tell stories now. And for me, the best work happens when you get combinations of people working together on projects that have very different skill sets and very different backgrounds. And that was very much what Helix was about. So we're very, very pleased to work with Lighthouse on it. I'll now hand over to Sylvia, who really led the project technically, and she'll talk a bit more about how we worked with David, Daniel, James, and many other people on making it happen.
Yeah.
Sylvia.
Well, I think just leading up from what Matt said about the digital medium and reading, so I kind of come from a very traditional publishing background, for example, and so there's a lot of experimentation and also not a lot of experimentation in that realm about how you create reading experiences using digital that feel more interesting than what you can do on paper, or at least different to what you can do on paper. And I think the graphic novel is an interesting form because it's very physical, and it's up to now there haven't been that many experiments, despite it actually being a perfect sort of combination of words, of visuals, to do something interesting with digitally. So from our perspective, it was really about what we could do to, I think, maintain the kind of the beauty and very personal experience of reading a graphic novel, but try to kind of translate that into a digital space. So retain it as a very personal sort of immersive experience, which accessing something like that on a tablet can be, and trying to translate that as best we could. So it's very kind of, I think the nice thing about what it is, and you'll be able to see it more, is that it's kind of not very webby. It sort of takes you out of the web. It's very unusual, and it's very much an experience. And so what it's tried to do is really retain, I think, the values and the feeling that you get when you're alone with a printed graphic novel, but also do things that paper just can't do. So I think that's basically the very kind of simple thing that we've tried to do.
Cool.
Right. Hello. Well, yes.
Hello.
So this is Helix. This is pretty much the last drawing that Dan ever did.
Yep.
For the project. And it really started from, I guess, a series of conversations with Adam Rutherford. I'm David Blandy, and I'm a contemporary video installation-y kind of artist. Make some comics sometimes. This was from my 2004 diary, where I did a comic page every day. And one of the things that I have done as art is create this character called the Barefoot Lone Pilgrim, who is sort of an exaggerated version of myself looking for soul records around the world. Here he is looking for soul at the Grand Canyon. And when we were talking with Adam, me and Dan is a graphic novelist.
Yep.
With a graphic novel out next year.
Yep. Should I say something? Yeah.
Please do.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm Daniel Locke. I'm a cartoonist.
Cartoonist.
Yeah, and or graphic novelist. But yeah. Oh God, this is really bizarre, isn't it? My voice sounds really big. Yeah. So this is a page from my book that's going to be out next year. It's coming out from a publisher called No Brow. But alongside sort of very traditional graphic novels, I've been making projects like Helix, working with other artists and working within like a gallery or fine art context and bringing illustration and comics into that world and just seeing what happens and thinking about it and stuff.
Yeah, so when we started working with Adam Rutherford, who's a science communicator,
yep.
We got in a room and started just knocking ideas backwards and forwards
Yeah,
about
cool.
what could a collaboration between science and art, about creation, about sampling was sort of the kind of the broad theme that we were interested in.
It was here, wasn't it? Because you
Yeah.
had the residency here, so you had use of the studio.
Yep.
And yeah, we spent like 3 days basically listening to Adam tell these amazing stories about the history of biology and life on Earth.
And things like this.
Yeah. So this is a diet. This is like the most up-to-date family tree for all life on Earth ever. So the central bit. If you go back to that one there, like this is like when the Earth started.
Well,
Like bacterial life, isn't
Yeah.
it? And then each one of these is every animal that's like living now.
is a proportion.
Yeah. And like this is all the breaks are the animals that have died, and like we're there, and that's amazing, isn't it?
So and it was kind of how to frame these stories of the changes in science that was happening. That how like, in the beginning there was just cells, and yet now
We can control those cells
exactly,
and manipulate them.
turn them into biobricks. We can
Yeah.
turn them into standard parts, so you can have a glow-in-the-dark cat
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
goat.
Yeah.
With,
So you can take like genetic information from one organism and implant it into another organism. And so that's like I thought it was genetic engineering, but it's now called synthetic biology because it's been standardized. So scientists can draw on pre-existent patterns for, say, the sort of structures that make an organism phosphorus, and put it into like a cat. And so there is a glow-in-the-dark cat. I mean, that's nuts.
So that last page is like the Lego catalogue for life.
Yeah, exactly. It's Lego life Lego life.
Yeah, it's turning biology into engineering.
Yeah.
So rather than like circuit boards, you have they're drawn out like circuit boards.
Yeah, literally like circuit boards. And the potential for this technology is just enormous.
They can do things like make plankton glow in a rhythm.
Yeah.
So it goes.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Mm.
Yeah. Because there are some deep sea creatures that have this glowing aspect to
And
their
other ones that
being.
are rhythmic, and it's it creates this feedback loop, and they can kind of control the.
Yeah. I mean, disco lighting is going to go off the charts. But the mad one is what's it called? Where plants eat the sun, like
Photosynthesis.
photosynthesize. They're going to be able to. But they're going to be they like theoretically possible to make humans photosynthesize.
No, not theoretically. Adam was saying that's within our lifetime.
That's within our lifetime. So we'll be able to make glucose from sunlight.
So yeah, no more snacking, Dan.
No more snacking. I would be a fat. Honestly, I love chocolate. So I'm not going to stop just from getting sugar from the sun.
And at the same time, I was thinking about kind of biological creation. I was thinking about just the whole how ideas come about, how we create new concepts, new images, and this figure, the Ice Age lion figure from I think 40,000 BC, was really it's the first example of a creative act, in a way, that we've managed to find. Because it's taking one thing from the world, a man, and another thing from the world, a lion, and squishing them together and creating something that just doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's like it's a physical embodiment of what your brain does really well, like taking really apparently disparate ideas and mashing them together and making and showing the links, like showing that, like, so this is as you say, this is a 40,000-year-old object which expresses the idea of you know, the Lionheart, like Richard the Lionheart sort of thing.
And I guess I saw it as a larger metaphor for just creativity in general, really. It's like how ideas normally don't come from nowhere. They're actually results of collaborations and borrowings and remixes, as much as just kind of the eureka moment, I guess. And so we followed the history of Chimera through the ages. The Chimera is a Greek mythological creature, the lion, goat, and serpent. So these three things put together, which is kind of, it's not dissimilar to the spider goat, is it? But kind of manifests in a completely different way. It's not that, they haven't created. And then, here's a whole bunch more mer people and pan, etc. And then the creatures that were the Egyptian mythology. And it really took us to the story of DNA.
Have we had the spider goat picture?
No, that's later.
Oh, right, okay.
Stick to the script,
Yeah,
Dan.
sorry.
Sorry, I missed you. So we had, I think it was something really important for Adam, wasn't it, to talk about the whole story of Crick and Watson, because he always thought that this, what was missed out was Rosalind Franklin's role in the whole thing, that it was not just these two guys having this eureka moment, it was actually much more of a team effort, with Rosalind Franklin and Maurice Watkins bringing very important parts to the story, from both her ability to do the photography, which was taken from Maurice Watkins' involvement in the Manhattan Project. And there's this kind of really interesting relationship between kind of the mass destruction of atom bombs, which is what the Manhattan Project was for, and then this idea of kind of pure creative life in the discovery of DNA.
And this in itself, like we were engaged, like when we were listening to these stories that Adam was telling us and working out how we're going to work together, we're engaged in this sort of collaborative, creative act. This is a dangerous parallel to draw, actually. And we're hearing the story about these scientists, and Adam was really, he was really passionate about drawing us to an awareness of the role collaboration had in the discovery of DNA and the competition. And so I was like, oh wow, look, this is, all ideas come about by sharing, and all new ideas come about by sharing, and this is an example, like a profound example, whereas we're just doing now.
And I guess our other shared passion is sampling, hip hop remix culture. I mean, especially me and Adam and you a little bit, I guess, but and so that kind of all those things came together into the start of the story of Helix. And Adam had just been doing this filming, I think, when we got together to do the talking. This is an actual example of the spider goat. This goat has spider's milk in its spider's web in its milk. So it's a way to farm spider's web. Yeah,
because you can't farm spiders because they eat each other. So if you have like a whole load of spiders like on a spider ranch, within a month there'll only be one spider left. So they'll just eat each other. And so spider's web has this really attractive physical properties. Like it's stronger.
Super strong.
Yeah, pound for pound with steel and stuff like that. So you really want to be able to farm it, but you can't farm it from spiders. So what they've done is put the ability to excrete the protein, which makes the silk, into a goat, which you can farm. And basically this goat, pisses out this spider's web out of its milk, and you can just lift lactate the spider's web out of its milk, and you can just dip a stick in there and pull spider web strands out of the milk.
Because what actually comes out is loads of tiny little strands, and they will automatically link to each other. when
Yeah.
kind of spun.
Yeah, they're proteins, so it's protein, and it's very strange.
So there you go. And it was from that really, all this time that we were chatting, Dan was kind of just drawing.
Yeah,
really.
it was doodling.
Doodling away.
So that's a pan full of spiders' milk, spider goat milk. There's some spiders and there's a goat. So it's a very sophisticated expression of that idea that we were.
Then we have, do we have a map? We do. So here we've got a Rosalind Franklin.
There's Rosalind Franklin.
And then we've got Olympus Mons, which is on Mars. And then we've got, who's this dude?
I can't even remember. It was some old scientist, I think.
Yeah.
But he's got like a dead body in him because we were in his brain because he was like aware of mortality. We were talking about like death and stuff a lot.
Yeah, because we then came up with that idea that maybe one of the things was that maybe the first 500-year-old man
Well, this is the thing, yeah.
is already alive.
Yeah. So Adam said just offhand, like on the end of the first day, some scientists think that the first 500-year-old, the first person to live to 500 has been born already, because of things like synthetic biology and just general advancements in medicine. So one of the things that's been developed for synthetic biology is a virus which has in it this thing, like this organism, I suppose, I don't even know, but that will isolate and kill cancer cells. So like it will just go in and just destroy the cancer cells. It's a virus that only kills cancer cells, and it's 100% effective in a petri dish now. So like that's now. And one of the things that kills us in like the affluent West more than anything else is cancer. And so like Adam was saying that in supercentenarians, people that live beyond 100, they just die of one disease. And so there's like, well, what happens if they're immune to cancer, they're immune to all this other stuff, they've survived beyond 100 and then they get this one disease, all of them. And so it's like, well, what the hell happens when you cure that disease? What will kill them? I guess just wearing out. But it's like, how long will they go extra beyond that disease? So he was speculating that,
And so we thought, well, and Adam was really keen to have the lone pilgrim in there for some strange reason.
Yeah.
He just liked this
yeah,
character.
exactly. He's an awesome character.
So then, well, why don't we make him the 500-year-old man?
Yeah.
And then where would he be living? Well, on Mars, obviously.
He's got to be, because it's the future.
It's the future. Everyone's in space in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be.
So that's where we started the story, and it was a reminiscence from this man, almost on his 500th birthday, about the whole history of existence.
Yeah. That is the lone pilgrim there.
Yeah, this dude here.
But for some reason, I don't know, like, Adam and David have got like these shared passions, and they go off on talking about stuff that I didn't really understand a lot of the time, like hip hop and also kung fu movies. So this guy has got this beard because of some character.
Yeah, like the old master.
Yeah, right, okay, so but that's where he is.
Yeah. Exactly, like he's always the cool guy that comes in at the end. He's like the ultimate boss.
Right.
It's like this old dude with white hair and
very
moustache.
long, ugly moustache.
Yeah. And this was sort of one of the first finished pictures that you brought out for the project, wasn't it? And it kind of encapsulated a lot of it. It had the DNA strand, it had Rosalind, it had this sort of quite flat style, and it seemed to sort of be going in the right sort of direction.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, you really liked it, so... yeah.
You weren't so impressed.
It's just like a picture. I mean, I was thinking about like 1950s textbooks and things like that, the aesthetic of that. I was just thinking on like an aesthetic level. But I'm pleased you liked it. It was cool.
And so I'd written up this text, which was... It's not terribly long. It's about 500 words, I think, something like that, maybe 1,000.
Yeah, a bit more, maybe.
And we started just mapping it out, really. And Dan started drawing various, just sort of some mock-ups of just ideas of how it could come together.
Yeah. So we had like a series of meetings, you and I, didn't we? After Adam had told us all these cool stories, and you had turned them into this cool, like a short story, basically.
Stream of consciousness.
Well, yeah, but it's like it has a narrative sort of behind it, and so we spent a couple of days literally storyboarding it together, didn't we? You did some drawings, I did some drawings.
These are the storyboards. So, and it was kind of just putting them in order, really. This isn't even the order of the final thing, is it?
No, these are really tiny little drawings, because we spent they're like tiny, just a few centimetres big. We spent a few days just going through David's text and just trying to isolate.
To tease out the main imageries.
Yes, really practical.
I like, that's that vase there that was going to house quite a few of the Greek myths and things.
Yeah.
And it sort of started coming together into, there we go, we're finished. into a whole bunch of images which could then, we became quite aware that we wanted it to be animated in some way, so it'd have to be basically isolated elements. So you stopped drawing such complete pictures and started drawing more like kind of just
layers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you see on this image here, you've got kind of a layer of clouds and then a layer of sort of the figure on the hill and then some clouds for the background. And then on the front page of the website, it kind of now
and they sort of they have like a depth to them. Again, like your love of Japanese anime and stuff, they often use that layered depth and, to give an impression of three-dimensionality. Yeah,
and I guess what Storythings have done with it is turn it into something very tactile, really.
Yeah.
You're constantly touching this screen.
Absolutely.
And not quite moving the things, but it forces you to engage with the words and engage with them at a certain pace as well. It kind of is. With the soundtrack by James Holland, a friend of mine, it creates a weird sort of meditative atmosphere almost for the piece, and like Sylvia was saying, it's almost like it's on the web but outside the web.
Yeah,
it's like you kind of
really
go into this sort of strange other space.
I like the fact, like a book, like a traditionally printed paper book, it forces a sort of like posture on the reader. So and which is so different from the screen, you can view it on the screen, on your desk and stuff, but the way I like looking at it is on the tablet. It's somewhere between a very clearly online or screen-based thing and a book, so it feels like nicely unique. Because part of the reason I love comics is for their physicality, and it's nice to know that that's been retained in this project.
So I guess that's the story of Helix. And I hope you enjoy it. But are there any questions?
I was wondering, since you just started talking about the printed graphic novel, sort of what's next for you, and how do you think the project might evolve from here on?
I think we've really pared down our ideas for this, didn't we?
What you came with the story, what you came to me with the story was just like crazy, massive, epic in scale, like bonkers, Jodorowsky style psychedelia, and very little of that has actually come through in this project, just because of the constraints of time that we had to work on it. And it would have been awesome to just spend the next 10 years making this thing.
Because there's an element in which, it was kind of divided into like 10 different scenes, which have now been turned into 4 chapters, kind of containing. And each of those scenes could have been like an entire book by itself. It's like the first billion years of the single-celled organism. That's like an amazing.
That's amazing.
Thing, isn't
and
it?
It's such like, I love the fact it's like to take on like this. It's in this project as well. I just love the sort of like folly of taking on something so big and just saying, I'm going to tell this story anyway. It's like a 1950s Hollywood biblical epic, but written science and fact instead of
and Cool J Herc.
And Cool J Herc.
So it's going to get even bigger.
It's going to expand beyond imagination. We're thinking just a print.
At the moment, just a print. I'm really into this, taking comics into these different contexts, and this has really opened a whole thing up to me. So it'd be cool to do something else online or have it cross multimedia platforms. But given what I do most of the time, turning into a print.
There's something really immediate. You know, we're thinking about just almost an overabundance of stuff.
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Sort of like, sketches and drawings
Fill it
and
up.
paintings and,
Yeah.
and story, and how this, and really kind of paper lends itself to that.
Yeah,
it's like almost, it kind of feels like you're holding a sketchbook, where like online it always feels like you have to polish things a little bit and stuff, but maybe that's wrong. Maybe we could just go in a kind of, Snapchat sort of way.
Yeah.
But,
it's a book, and a paper book, and so big paper book. And I like the idea that once this thing's made, we'll just leave it in the universe, and then in 500 years' time, the real pilgrim will pick it up on Mars, in this the dust of Mars, and it's like,
It's like the time machine that just
Yeah.
falls apart in his hands.
it's going to be amazing.
But yeah, that's the moment we're waiting for. Okay, yes. Any more questions? No. Well, thank you all very much for coming, and please play with it upstairs. Any more questions, come up to me, Dan, Sylvia, we're all around, so yeah, thank you very much.
Cheers.